everybody, welcome back to another reading. Today we're taking a look at the case of Adam Hermann, who was 11 when he disappeared in 1999. According to the adoptive parents Doug and Valerie Hermann, he disappeared sometime during the first week of May of 1999, but is not entirely sure if that is the truth. According to them, Valerie spanked him with a belt and then claimed that they were afraid to report him missing because they thought that they might get in trouble for that and that possibly their other kids would be taken away, because he had been put in another home for 2 days in 1996 after Valerie had disciplined him before with a belt and caused bruises. They also stated that he ran away frequently and that they assumed that after his disappearance in 1999 he was either homeless or with his biological parents. Even though they claimed to be afraid of losing their children, they were not afraid to continue to collect the adoption subsidy payments until his 18th birthday, which came in every month at the total of $700. And when they declared bankruptcy in 2002, they listed him as a dependent. In 2008, the authorities were notified of his disappearance when his adoptive sister, Crystal Espinosa, contacted them with concerns about Adam. She tried to locate him through the Kansas Department of Social and Rehabilitation Services, or the SRS, and found that the SRS believed he lived with the Hermanns until he turned 18, and she knew for a fact that that was not true. Now, according to Adam's older adoptive brother, Justin, his mother physically abused him often, though he claimed he never saw Doug actually hurting Adam, and Doug apparently sometimes actively tried to stop Valerie from hurting him. An aunt claims that Adam was chained to a bathtub faucet the last time she saw him, and Valerie claimed that a psychologist had said that he might have some issues, that he had an attachment disorder, or either bipolar or schizophrenia, and that doctors advised her to lock Adam in the bathroom at night because he had threatened to kill his parents. So that was her excuse. In July 2010, Doug and Valerie were charged with felony theft because they continued to accept public assistance payments for Adam after he was no longer there. In addition to the monthly adoption subsidy, they also claimed Adam as a dependent under taxes, which I said earlier, and the total amount was $52,800. And in June 2011, they reached a plea agreement admitting to wrongfully accepting $15,488 between November 2003 and July 2005. Doug was sentenced to 9 months in prison and Valerie to 7 months in prison, and they were both ordered to pay a restitution and a $2,500 fine each, and they were subject to probation after their release. In July 2016, Doug died of natural causes. He was 61, and Adam was mentioned as a survivor in his obituary. But there's also that. Another thing that was telling that I do want to add is that Adam's biological sister, who was adopted by another family, last saw her brother around 1994. A couple years after that, he sent her a Christmas card, and that was the last contact she had with him officially. She said she spoke to Doug and Valerie several times on the phone after 1999, and they told her Adam was fine, but she never actually got to talk to him directly, and eventually the Hermanns asked her not to call anymore. Now, investigators have named Adam's adoptive parents as suspects in this case, and state it's possible murder charges could be brought even if Adam's remains are never found, or that charges could be brought for the Hermanns' alleged abuse of Adam prior to his disappearance and the fact that they failed to report him missing. They also searched both Hermanns' later residence and a mobile home where they lived in 1999, but no human remains were found. Authorities do say they discovered the answer to one of the questions they had, but they didn't say what question that was. But as it states at the bottom, the case remains unsolved, and that is why we're going to take a look at it today using the tarot. And we're going to start off with the Modern Witch Tarot, which is already on the table. And for any further questions, moving on to the Crow Tarot deck, which is this one. So as per usual, I'm just going to start shuffling the cards. As soon as I have a table for all of them, we're going to stop and take a look. So without much further ado, let's get started. Okay, so the first couple of cards kind of exploded there. We have the Page of Swords in reverse. We have the Fool in reverse and the Five of Wands upright. So Page of Swords and the Fool in reverse kind of strike me as somebody who is saying things that they don't really mean, and they're also not really doing things without a plan. So as far as saying things that they don't mean, could also mean that they're purposely lying or just betraying people, saying things that aren't truthful and that sort of thing in order to, I guess, have a certain result. That resulted in a violence over there with the Five of Wands. Normally I would see that as a friendly sparring between two people, but I don't really see that happening here, obviously, because Adam was only 11 at the time that he disappeared, from what they suspect, and so probably wasn't quite even if it is him and, for instance, Valerie, who I think that's the person that we're dealing with. For some reason she keeps popping up. So we have some struggles here. We have the Two of Wands, unable to really go anywhere, and the Five of Swords, which is more lying. So not only do they not have a view of some type of out of the situation, I'm thinking this over here is Adam over there. We're also being told all sorts of things like, oh, you can't leave anyway, because this person in the background walking away, it's almost like the person in the foreground is victorious in the sense of, well, yeah, the things I'm telling you, yeah, that's just the truth. You're just going to have to go back to your room. Nothing much you can do here. Just leave it to us and we'll take care of things, that type of thing. Or nobody's going to come get you. They're just telling all these lies that keep them in place, basically. Then on the end of the first row, we see the Three of Cups in reverse. So there's definitely breaking of harmony, breaking of a sense of like a group feeling in the home, I suppose. In general, there's just a breakdown of harmony there. Then on the second row, we have a Knight of Pentacles who is in reverse. So somebody who is normally practical, but now not so practical, or very practically working on things that are not proper. Justice in reverse. This may point out to the time where he ran away, quote unquote, according to them, and maybe the actual thing happened that may have caused his actual disappearance happening. Six of Wands in reverse, somebody is not picking him up, I noticed. Six of Wands in reverse, somebody who is losing face with somebody. And together with Justice in reverse, and this Knight of Pentacles kind of strikes me as somebody who has been slowly, methodically working on the same thing, and then we see just in reverse, so something bad is happening that is not right, and then the Six of Wands in reverse, so now they're losing face. So they're doing something that they've been doing probably for some time that's been causing a lot of disharmony up here, a lot of lies, and also having to plan here with the Fool in reverse, causing strife and that sort of thing. And now we're losing face, so this may be somebody who was, at least for some time, known to be carrying out these actions and possibly was tolerated. Well, they must have been, because nothing was done to stop it until something went wrong, and then we're like, you really had to go and do that. Oh my god, I told you so many times to not do this, not do that, and now you see what happens, that type of thing. You have a bit of a falling out here, Two of Cups in reverse, so there's definitely a breaking away from something. And the Two of Pentacles in reverse, possibly having a mismatch in finances here. We're worrying about it with the Four of Swords, possibly not long term though, because the blue sky is kind of drawing my attention away from the gloomy scene here. But there is like a question of where to next over here. So if I'm thinking about this situation where these two people were still drawing finances for having the care of a certain person who was not in their care anymore since 1999, they suspect, and did so until, I believe, they could no longer, and then they just kept putting them on their tax records, basically. I see this more as somebody else's worry. This is not Adam, I don't think. We just saw Adam over here popping up a little bit like, I don't really know where to go. And then we see over here breaking away, and we're having some issues about finances. We're worrying about it. We can't go anywhere. Or are we looking for somewhere to go for some other purpose? Like, it's really coming across to me like, oh no, I've really done it this time. What do we do with the result? That type of thing. That's kind of what this is looking like. And also with the Two of Pentacles in reverse over there, like this may have caused the breakup, the eventual divorce, I suppose, although it took some years before that happened. I think that was 2003 that Valerie and Doug divorced, if I remember correctly. So that would have been about 4 years after the fact. Maybe this was the start of that divorce coming in, or one of the things that really contributed to it. But this card in particular keeps drawing my attention. This Two of Pentacles, what are we going to do with the finances? They may have worried about that and come up with a solution, and then they were just like, what do we do with the rest? Like that type of thing. So this may be the point where they decided, yeah, well, if we don't tell anybody, we can still keep cashing in, but what do we do after with the other things that people might find questionable, if you know what I mean. So let's see what happened after that, because I'm not seeing a whole lot of Adam in this lineup with these two lines right here. And just from the story alone, just the facts, I think a lot of people probably believe that Adam is no longer with us, and I'm not really getting the sense that he was here much in these two lines. So I kind of feel like this is an event where Adam actually lost his life, and they just made up the story of him running away or possibly going back to his parents, and then that sort of thing, and just to keep things going for themselves without having too much of a sense of guilt. At least I didn't see much of that in their story. But okay, I'm reading too much into it right now. Let's go for the next question, which was, so what happens next? So at this point they have done the deed, so to speak, and the other type of sense, not what the usual sense of that expression is. And now we're like, okay, so what do we do next? So let's see what they did next. Knight of Pentacles, alright, on its side. We're looking at some trees in the background, maybe some forested areas, but that can't be too uncommon. Now, the area here, it also has some flowers in it. I feel like they definitely went looking. Knight of Pentacles is once again very practical. And I'm thinking they're using that practicality to explore areas that they are probably familiar with, possible locations, that type of thing. So I'm going to put it like over here, because it is a potentially nefarious purpose. At least that's what it feels like to me anyway. We have strength over here. Alright, instant card to pull strength. But again, that tree. Maybe there's just a lot of trees in this deck. I don't know. Looking at some glowing hills here, some distant housing, not too much. And again with the flowers. I'm wondering though why I'm pulling strength in this case. Maybe they just kind of like pulled together in order to get through this somehow. I mean, some people who are normally fairly good, if you want to call it that, at carrying out certain negative acts, they may still be taken aback by others, and they might need some strength to deal with those such things. So maybe they have to gather their strength, or just to show outward strength to people, keep up appearances, and not break down in front of other people, possibly. Whoops, and that one flips. Page of Cups. Alright, so there is a surprise here. Maybe somebody found out or came by when they were out there looking for a spot, or they asked some questions. Oh, I'm also being reminded of the fact that the sister would call occasionally. After a while, they were asked not to call again. So maybe when she called, it was a surprise to them, like, oh, hey, yeah, we weren't expecting that to happen, and I know he's fine, you know, that type of thing. But still, could also be that somebody just kind of wandered by while they were there doing their thing, and they were not expecting that. Like maybe they went to an area that they thought for sure was going to be super abandoned, and then it turns out that there are quite a few people, even in places where you're not expecting them. So maybe one of them actually came upon them but didn't know what they were doing. Oop, that one wants to fall off the table, but I don't want it to. Let's see, we have the Two of Wands. Alright, so we're kind of tied. looking for places. There aren't many other places for them to look for. There is the globe, of course, there at the top. So they're both kind of looking for places. You can see that the grow heads are looking either direction. I think they're holding the wands. They're just kind of searching high and low, maybe also driving around at night, because one of the sides of the card's kind of dark and the other is kind of light. So maybe done night and day, they're kind of looking around, see what's a good spot. And maybe they've driven around for a while to see how busy certain places are at night and at day, see when the best times could be. And then we have the Four of Swords again, so once again we're worried about these things. Also noticing the crows in the window there. I don't think that's a picture frame. Is it a picture frame? I think it's a window. So maybe they're kind of worried about people finding out, because the Four of Swords is a card of like concern, speaking concern, thinking concern, and also anxiety, possibly temporary. I feel like they don't know if people are onto them. Also, that crow does not really look like it's sleeping. I don't know about you, but I've never seen a crow sleep like that before. So maybe they're also just kind of, maybe this is like a temporary location where they kept the evidence, shall we say, to keep it YouTube friendly, and they're kind of looking in through the windows every once in a while thinking like, what do we do with that? And even if you're not physically looking into it, like sometimes you know that there's an object or a thing somewhere in a location that you have to do something with, and it's causing you some anxiety, and keep thinking back to that location where it is, like, oh, that thing is there, I need to do something with that. And that's kind of what those two crows in the window were also kind of reminding me of. So maybe people possibly looking in and seeing things that may look suspicious, or that Valerie and Doug possibly thought looked suspicious, or them also thinking of the location where the thing is that they are concerned of is hidden, and possibly wondering if other people can find it or are about to find it. So maybe there was a period where they were just like concerned that any day now they could turn on the TV and hear a bunch of news about how they found something that wasn't supposed to be found, and then they just kind of like worried about that for a while. The Empress is here, so I'm feeling like this is a moment of trying to be the best version of themselves, to possibly be a better parent to any other kids that may have occurred. Maybe they were trying to smooth things over or something. Knight of Wands, if they had any other kids. I think they had a few kids that they may have had for a while, but they adopted Adam. They for a while also had Adam's younger siblings, but I don't know if they kept them on or if they accepted other people into their family. I don't know. But in any case, there is a care period over here where they at least try to take care of themselves, possibly to recover from all of this. Doing some risky things though with the Knight of Wands in reverse. So maybe there is a time of, oh, let's just do whatever we like. Let's go drink some beers. Let's go gamble at the casino. Let's go, I don't know, play some bingo, whatever it is that they, maybe they wanted to go get some illegal substances and do some stuff with that, where they're just kind of like falling into this comfort zone thing to try and care for themselves, or rather just get rid of some of that anxiety by doing all sorts of things that they really, really like, even though they may not be healthy habits. Then we have the Six of Cups, so now we're thinking back about the past, maybe thinking of all the good days that they may have had, possibly when Adam was still around, and now in a bit of a weird twist, thinking about how fun it was or something when he was there. Like, not the abuse, I don't think that that's what they were thinking about, but more like, oh, wasn't it fun? Like, remember when he did this? Remember when he did that? And maybe they found some pictures that he drew or something like that. Something like that's going on. And it's kind of like also they're trying to possibly keep decisions at bay. They're of two minds. On the one hand, they're like, we know what we did, and on the other hand, they're like, oh yeah, well, actually there was all this other stuff happening, and maybe they're also kind of trying to justify it in their mind, even though you wouldn't think that that would be possible, but some people really manage it somehow to justify terrible things in their mind in order to be able to continue living. I suppose you have to do that sometimes. In some situations, it is acceptable, of course, to the outside world, and just not so much. But possibly they were just in a bit of a hedonistic era here where they're just trying to live and forget things, move on, and try to shove things to the back of their mind and only think of the good things from the past. And then we have the Five of Pentacles here. So we are kind of worried about our finances. I think in all this worry about, oh yeah, well, you know, we did a bad thing, but I think that's what this card is pointing towards, like the but part of that equation. Like, yeah, we kind of do still need the money, and yeah, it's kind of bad that we're not admitting that he's no longer here, but you know, $700, not a bad thing, like not a bad deal, that type of thing. But the Five of Pentacles is like a bankruptcy type of thing, and I'm thinking that in this case it's also a moral bankruptcy. Like often when you see the card, you see somebody being dejected on the street, cast out, that type of thing, and they're just kind of sitting there high and mighty in that tree with resources that they actually know aren't theirs to begin with. But like I said, they're trying to justify it in their mind, so I'm guessing they're just trying to make that make sense somehow. That one. The Three of Cups. Okay, so now we're definitely at the end of that rope. I think this is pointing towards that divorce that happened about 4 years after the fact in 2003, if I remember correctly. So there is still a disharmony, even though we had this whole period of trying to just kind of do everything that we like and trying to make everything okay, smooth things over. There still is that part that says, you know, no, we can't really be together anymore. Now, I don't think that the divorce was solely due to what happened to Adam. There's probably a lot of other factors involved as well, but it's just one of those things that maybe gave them a little push in order to set that in motion. So I think that's their story, and I feel like I want to go on to whether we're going to see anything resolved. Are we ever going to find anything of Adam? Are we ever going to find out the truth? Let's take a look at that. Oh, we got 3 cards that just spontaneously flipped, or is it 2? Okay, 2 cards, 3 of Swords and Death. All right, so maybe somebody will feel betrayed at some point and they're going to start talking, possibly. I'm thinking that this is somebody who used to be on board or was kept on board, and as you can look at the heart there that's pierced, there's this black goo coming out of it. So I feel like whenever somebody feels crossed by somebody who is involved, and they're going to go, yeah, you know what, I've been keeping all this black nonsense in my heart for such a long time, we're going to end that. That's what the Death card is probably pointing towards. Maybe somebody will come forward because they feel hard done by, and they're like going to take revenge by letting all the truth out, or at the very least not saying no whenever somebody asks them if they want to do an interview or something. Like, it's the end of a chapter for somebody. Somebody is possibly currently still feeling like they need to keep their mouth shut, and that's possibly going to end at some point when they feel double-crossed in some way. At that point, they're going to have a bit of single-minded focus, like they're no longer going to care. They're going to just do what they, at that point, feel is the only option for them. I feel like they may have been in that Two of Swords situation for some time, and now they're turning that around. Oops. Okay, that one, the Hermit's top left, and then we have here the Eight of Wands. All right. This Hermit card, it kind of strikes me as the Hermit on their way out the door. The way that they're closing that laptop over there. Like, yeah, okay, I've seen all that, done all that, now it's time to go do something else, like that type of thing. So they may have been kept in the background, or they've kept themselves in the background, they kept quiet in the background, and now they're like, okay. They may have seen something online, actually, that makes them want to speak out with the Eight of Wands there on the right, and we're racing off into the distance because it also is a bit of a Chariot card. Like, there is a lot of action here, a lot of energy, like they're just fired up to get to talking, to get to doing things, I think. Like maybe they're going to go visit other people who may know more, or they're going to go look for other people who may know more, who might also want to talk about this. It's almost like they're starting a bit of a campaign, or at the very least they've turned a new leaf and the old ways are gone. Right, Wheel of Fortune's in reverse. Alright, so turning for the worst over here. We have the Knight of Swords also happening. So maybe somebody is noticing this change of heart, maybe whoever the other swords are in here, and they're like, oh, wait a second, but I can deal with that because I can talk too, you know, like the Knight of Swords tends to speak lies and twists people's words and stuff like that. And with this Wheel of Fortune in reverse, I think that this person is probably going to come after whoever this hermit is representing and try to twist everything for their own good, to change the narrative, control it, keep things under wraps, or just confuse things, muddy the waters like that, in order to try and keep things from falling apart too much from their perspective. Now, the Knight of Swords is also a very hasty person, so I feel like this is a sloppy attempt at such a thing, so maybe they're going to look pretty silly doing that. And then we have Five of Cups. All right, crying over spilled milk. Maybe they're complaining about things like, oh, well, you know, things were so bad for me and all that sort of thing, and woe's me, I'm actually the victim here. That type of thing, while ignoring the things that they do have over there behind them, which is typical with the Five of Cups and typical with people who like to play the victim card. Alright, we have the Knight of Cups. Yep, somebody who's feeling mostly for themselves. And the Hanged Man, or the Hanged One in this case. So this Knight of Cups only really wants to look at their own feelings, think from their own perspective, wants other people probably to do the same thing, maybe tries to twist their perspective as well with the Hanged Man over here, like trying to take a new view of things, like, oh, but take a look at it from my point of view. Everybody's kind of talking about Adam and all that sort of thing, but what about me, like that type of thing. So somebody who's fairly self-centered is doing all of this right here. But is that going to work, or are we actually going to see anything of Adam? The Empress. Alright, the Empress is back. We had the Empress on the first row, or the second row, I mean, down there earlier as well. So that may be the same person. This may be somebody who is trying to come across as friendly, as amicable, as possibly trying to warm up to whomever this hermit is, to soften the blow, so to speak. Kind of reminds me of my father's girlfriend, who was basically just draining his bank account, but that's like an aside for another time possibly. But whenever she writes a message to me, like on this little whiteboard that's in his room, it's always a very negative message, and it's very demanding. It's like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that. But when you actually have her on the phone, she's sweet as pie. So whenever she is actually there talking to you, it's all like, oh yeah, you're doing such a great job, blah, blah, blah. But in the background, behind the scenes, there's all this going on. So I wouldn't trust all this Empress honey and cakes and all that sort of thing coming from this person. Oh, there we go. This one's on the side, but I haven't split it yet or turned it yet. It's Ace of Wands. Okay, so we are taking some action. So basically appearing calm on the surface and doing all sorts of things underneath there to try and I guess win people over, do things. The sun in the background is casting a radiant glow as well around these actions, possibly making them seem divinely inspired, possibly. But are we going to find anything from Adam? Are we going to see the resolution like I said earlier? See if we can get a couple of cards about that. And we have the Two of Pentacles in reverse. Okay. So let's see, we have some negative resources happening, or at least some bad spending habits possibly. Maybe they aren't quite as good at their craft as they think they are with their Empress over there and their Ace of Wands. So the results of their Ace of Wands is not going to be the best of what they want. And then we have here Queen of Pentacles in reverse. Yeah, we're spending our resources incorrectly. Queen of Pentacles normally tries to balance a whole bunch of things like work, career, and home life and all that sort of thing. And in this case, it could also be somebody's trying to keep all the plates spinning, and they're not quite managing to do that. Speaking of spinning plates, this is also that infinity symbol, but it's also like a spinning symbol, so that matches. And so they're not having a great time trying to keep everything afloat. So it's kind of teetering on the edge here. And then we have a King of Cups who is on its side. Could be somebody new, trying to take their side or trying to manipulate people. It could also be them stepping into their King of Cups energy, because it doesn't have to be a new male. It could also just be a female doing this, and they may be trying to manipulate, but it's going to be very easy to see through, I think, because it's on its side. Like, oh yeah, no, of course you're going to say that you don't want to go to jail, of course you're going to say that it's XYZ reason why this and that happened, or just so happened to leave the door open one day and then he was gone. Sure, try the other one, that type of thing. So that's also not very successful. And then we have, this is the Five of Swords. All right, so now we're arguing, probably very openly arguing and trying to win arguments on the fly. There's a lot of activity in this card. There's also a storm brewing. Looks like it's snowing. There's all sorts of things going on. And some attempts are successful, others not so much, because there's still people flying over there, and they're not winning many battles. They are fighting lots of things. They are probably fighting verbally with a lot of people and trying to play mind games with them, but some are successful and others not so much. Oops, there's one on the floor. Floor card, the Hangman again. So there's another attempt at trying to get people to look at their position from another perspective, or maybe they're trying to change things as well. And then we have the Ten of Wands in reverse. They may actually start to teeter, like maybe their energy is faltering and maybe they're just kind of tired of fighting. Maybe people have kind of exhausted them with all of their questions and this renewed interest in the case, and they might start to fall. What do we have here? We have the Ten of Swords. All right, so we have the Ten of Wands being tired, and we also are very, very exhausted from anxiety as well. So this is something that they've probably been carrying with them for some time, and maybe this is a giving up point as well, point of no return. Like they've been very stubborn for a very long time. Oops. Okay. Final 4 cards, I think. But they're starting to lose their strength. And then we have the Ten of Cups and Justice. Okay, so this may actually be the point where they finally give in and we can actually get to some type of next step in the case. And then we have Judgment in reverse and Knight of Cups. Okay, so I'm feeling like even though we may see some type of breakthrough in this case where we're like, oh yeah, we finally got something, and maybe we're actually going to see some justice over here. Judgment is in reverse and Knight of Cups is upright, so I think they're just going to continue to feel bad for themselves while they might actually not see any real justice or judgment for their actions. Like maybe it's going to be too late to actually call them to justice, that type of thing. Like we may now finally have some justice, as in we found them maybe, or at least we know more than we did before, and we've got some conclusions drawn because of that, and we can kind of put things to rest as a result. But I think the perpetrator will not actually see justice, or not the type of justice that people would have liked to have seen for this harrowing case. But in any case, that is what I'm seeing for Adam Hermann. I hope you found that interesting. Make sure to leave a like or a comment. That really helps the channel along. If you want to subscribe, that's even better. I hope to see you in another video. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.